Hi guys, and welcome back to Pass the Move. And for today's episode, as promised, the game against Belenense, if I'm even saying that right. But yeah, it is of course a Premier League game, a huge game. Every game in the Premier League, of course, from now on till the end will be huge. We've played 28 games, which means there is 6 more to go, and just a really crucial point in our season. Of course, the closer we get towards the end, the more we'll know how we will. Where we'll end up basically. So pretty much nothing to update you on in terms of player stats, just the usual. We'll talk about just what happened since the last episode. So we did show you the game against Coimeres against Roma. It was a 4-1 defeat. Roma really showing their dominance in the second leg, where they refused to fall to our 1-0 defeat of them earlier on in the season. So managed to score a goal, but unfortunately we couldn't make anything of it, and instead it came blasting out, especially after the second half. Against Benfica though, disappointing 1-0, Horta scoring just before half time, and Pedro Santos missing a penalty as well. So again, just disappointing result at the end of the day. We could have been second. Of course, there's plenty of time to still make that happen, especially if we win today's result. We will be today's game, then we will be 2 points away from Benfica, so we can still put some serious pressure on them. But yeah, a win over there would have really helped us in terms of trying to qualify in this, through being second placed in the league. So the second Premier League game that we played during that break between one episode and the other was against Chaves. So 1-0 result, Azevedo scoring in the 91st minute, and we couldn't ask for a better way to win away from home. Also, I'm pretty sure you guys have noticed, but a lot of the games in the Premier League are televised. Now, you don't make too much money through television. Let me try and show you. Okay, so we want to show this season. Actually, it's a huge chunk of our revenue. It's more than prize money, sponsorship, gate receipts. So I guess TV money is a lot. I mean, it is just 7 million, but in context, it is the thing that we make most money out of. We don't really want to consider selling players as a way of making money, even though it is, of course. But we want to try and avoid selling players unless we don't want them around. Against Porto, though, 0-0 result, which meant that Porto did go through on away goals. They pretty much just went all defensive throughout the game because they're just trying to hold on for the result. They didn't really care about scoring one goal too much actually. They didn't concern themselves about scoring another goal, and we managed to not be able to do it really. So today's game, hopefully we see some more improvement, but the good thing is that we get to focus on the Premier League. We'll play this game here, and then the next episode, which should be the last episode of this season, will be the last game of this season as well, unless one of these games are going to be crucial. But yeah, we do have a little bit of a tough run-in terms of having to play Sporting. Moreirense are going to be a bit easier, Rio Ave the same, Ferreira just about, and Firenze as well. Maybe they'll be trying for the Europa League, so it might be good to show you this game instead. But yeah, we will show you the Belenense game instead. And yeah, we are at home being televised, and I think we can just kick off and we'll talk about more about what happened during the game, as well as who we selected and why. There's a couple of things, of course, to update you on. It's a little bit strange that there's so much that happened in the past since the last episode, but yeah, we'll talk more about that as well in just a second, while the players warm up, of course. So I would expect us to be favourites for today's game. Normally we are favourites unless we're playing Benfica, Porto or Sporting, and yet we are favourites for today's game. Pre-match analysis with Manuel Vieira is also the same. Key men, Santos, always been a key man for us, 13 goals in 15 games, assisting as in, not actually scoring. That'd be great. I think last year he hit double digits for both, but it doesn't look like this year he's done that. In fact, he's not even double digits in assists either. Well, I mean in total assists maybe, but not in, in the Premier League. And their key man is Alisson Ferreira. Now, someone to keep an eye on actually. They have a decent signing here. Inside forward, he would actually be a good option for us in truth. But yeah, 22 Brazilian, so maybe we should keep an eye on him. As a striker, he does play as a false nine. Alright, cool. Anyways, I think we can kick off finally. So we are going with Hassan, Rosa and Azevedo. Our wingers are the backup wingers. Santos has been in bad form, and Fabinho, I think, what's his name again? our first choice normally. I can't believe I forgot his name. It's not Fabinho, is it? Fabio Martins. He's actually injured as well, so Rossa gets the nod. Danilo, Fonte and Fran Sergio are our first choice midfield, so no update there. We are going to talk about what happened in the defensive midfield position in just a second. Got Juankar and Jubal, Rosic and Paulino, again first choices, and Marafona in goal as well. So yeah, quite a strong side, I would say. I mean, hopefully the inside forwards come through today and still manage to score. But you know, they are the backups, so I can't expect too much. Maybe hopefully Hassan can actually step up today's game and perform better than in recent times. And there you go, we're going to kick off. Alright, so we can finally talk about the Roma game in a little bit more detail. So that we had minor injuries coming up to that game, and of course we did have the away goal advantage, but they blew us out of the water with their away goals instead. I was hoping, you know, when I bring on Danilo from the bench, he would save the game, but unfortunately we just ended up being even more leakier in defense, and eventually Roma just managing to show their class, show their dominance, and just prove how much of a better side they are to us in that second leg. And also just prove that the first leg was a fluke. Even though it performed really well, and the second leg they really just outperformed us. They had no dominance whatsoever. No matter how much we pushed up and how much we, you know, changed the tactics and switched up on them, they just had created an incredible amount of clear-cut chances. I think they had about 6 and they only scored 4, so it could have been way worse. Speaking of which, we should push up into control and make things worse for Belenense. And yeah, so Roma eventually came through, and unfortunately we couldn't make it. It was going to be the quarterfinals. There was no round of 16. I completely forgot that about the Europa League. It's 2 knockout rounds and then just straight into a quarterfinal. So it'd been really good to get into quarterfinals, but we couldn't do that. And wow, they almost scored. Thankfully Marafona saves that after it cracks against the woodwork, I think. Against Benfica, it was the 100th game for me of being in charge of Benfica. Sorry, not Benfica, that'd be strange. Of Braga. And all in all, just like I mentioned, a disappointing result. So another missed penalty. I actually forgot to do it for this game, but I will start to assign penalty takers. Normally I don't do that with my teams. I kind of just let anyone take it. But once, you know, the players start to perform... Okay, let me see what I can say here. Some of them are nervous, so I'm going to say the pressure is off. Let's see if that helps them. I think a lot of my players struggle with pressure. Almost every game they feel nervous, and so I'm going to try and see if relaxing them will help, but we really do need to push on and actually get a result here. So hopefully that doesn't actually, you know, make them... I'm not even sure why I said that team talk now. Well, anyways, yeah, so, you know, I'm going to have to assign the penalty takers, and it would have been great to have closed the gap on Sporting, as in, you know, make it, close the gap doesn't even make sense. We actually wanted to make it bigger, but yeah, unfortunately that meant that Benfica and Porto managed to run away from us a little bit in that round. Another update was the defensive midfield position. Like I mentioned, Assis asked to leave, and you know, we did send him out. He wanted to go to Brazil, so we did offer him to clubs. We got some decent money for him. Unfortunately, we couldn't get more than his value, so we did get his value's worth, as well as 10% of whatever sale they make next. It's not about profit, literally just 10% of the next sale. And yeah, we had 2 clubs come in for them, and both were Brazilian, and he was happy to move. I accepted it, thinking he was going through. This is the reason why you guys should always check Paulino. Is he going to do anything here? Well, put good ball into the box. Rossa? Oh, I should have done better. That definitely was the first clear-cut chance of the game. So yeah, he asked to leave, and this is why you should always check about, you know, departure dates and whatnot, because it turned out, because the Brazilian transfer window was actually open, he left immediately, and that was of course very disappointing. I'm actually gonna keep Danilo. Let's take off Azevedo, and we'll bring off Hassan in just a moment as well. Alright. Yeah, so it turned out that Assis was leaving immediately because the Brazilian transfer window was open. I didn't realise that, and that was my mistake. And suddenly, of course, we're short in the defensive midfield department. So hopefully Fran Sergio doesn't get injured within the 6 games or so that's left. But of course, if he does, then we're in quite some trouble. Against Chavez, we had a huge last minute winner. We really needed that after the Benfica result, of course, back to back. Premier Liga losses wouldn't have been good, especially if we drew that game as well. It's still just as bad. We really needed to open the gap on Sporting again. Just like today's result will actually help us go 10 points clear of Sporting once more. They're 7 points behind us. Of course, if we draw, it will be 8 points, but we want to go a step further. Belen says they haven't really gone into defensive mode just yet. Okay, they have now, so we will go into overload. Looks like they're trying to hold on to a result. We are the home team, so we should expect more from our players. And will we witness another last-minute goal? Please say yes, and this doesn't go in their favour and goes in ours. Will it be Raniel to score for us? Alright, they're knocking the ball around quite well. Can we win it? Come on, just tackle him. He's outnumbered like 1,000,000 to 1. Come on. Yes, Paulino. Good win. Raniel's got it now. Are we going to score through a counter-attack? Santos, main man for us. He's come off the bench. What's he going to do here? Is it going to be a stupid shot, or is he going to play someone through? It is kind of a stupid shot, considering the players and options he had available, but it did strike the post, so he's a little bit unlucky there. But it looks like we're going to have to... It looks like the game will end as a draw, which would be very disappointing. But considering how big our gap is between ourselves and Sporting, I wouldn't say it's the end of the world just yet. And we look far more likely to qualify for the Europa League than they do. Looks like I should have actually pushed my players on in the halftime tea talk to try and get them to get a result. But that might not have necessarily changed the result. You know, it's not always that simple. Sometimes it's just the performance on the day itself, isn't it? Unfortunately, looks like our backup inside forwards couldn't do anything. And it looks like Hassan didn't have the greatest of games either, so that ultimately cost us. And we'll be looking to make some changes for the next game. So, definitely should be telling my players that's simply not good enough. We should have won that match. It puts us 4 points away from Benfica now, and it looks very unlikely. If we play against Sporting and we beat them in, I'm not sure if that's the next game, but if we do, that means we do definitely open the gap. But if we lose, suddenly our Champions League spot will be in danger, so hopefully we can avoid that as well. Against Porto, the last game, there's not really much to update on. They did just go through on away goals. It was not necessarily the most dominating performances. Probably the most boring game, maybe even more boring than today's episode. But yeah, it was just a result that we could have, done more with, I suppose. And yeah, they knocked us out of both cup competitions, so that was disappointing to see. Sporting managing to just draw their game as well, so I guess that's not the end of the world for us. And yeah, in terms of any other updates, it was great that we can focus just on the league now, like I mentioned. We do face Sporting next, so that'll be a very interesting game too. In terms of new signings, because we needed to replace Assis, of course, so that's exactly what we did. Fran Sergio is the main choice defensive midfielder now, just for this season, for the rest of this season. I actually brought back Alif from loan, who would have been a good backup to Fran Sergio, but unfortunately I forgot that this is something that I'm going to do next season as well. We got a bunch of registration rules are a bit different here, so normally I just like to register 22 players I'm playing with, but I can register up to 81, so it would make sense for me to just register all the under 19s in Braga B team or whatever, and that way these players such as Alif, for example, when I need someone from the under 19s or B team, then I can actually just play them, because Alif is now useless to us and he's having a bunch of game time in Portimonense. He played about 22 Premier Liga games as well as cup competition, so he was really doing quite well for himself. So I'm sorry, Alif, but yeah, we just have to deal with the fact that we did bring him back on loan, from loan. Despite him doing well. And we'll show you the new signing now, actually. So let's go to transfers. It is Walian Julian, or is it Julian? It's probably Julian, isn't it? Or is he Argentinian, so it's different. Anyways, Fernandez, just call Fernandez, says he is naturally better as a ball-winning midfielder, but we do have players in that position. But he's very comfortable playing as an anchor man. He's got all the attributes for it, the ability for it as well, and he pretty much was the only option in defensive midfield who is comfortable playing as an anchorman and who has plenty of potential to actually become a leading player for Premier League sides. So we signed him as a first teamer, and that's what he'll be expecting. He didn't want to settle for any less. He's on 2.3k right now for his team in Argentina, I think. Yeah. But of course, whenever you sign any South American players, they always ask for a bunch more money. So I think we had to give him about 6 times worth more. A little bit disappointed to have to pay him that much, but really because of the lack of options, even in our under-19s and Braga B team, in terms of defensive midfielders, it was the only choice we had to make. So we were a bit desperate, but we didn't break the bank for sure. I went with the recommended limit for a first team player, and that's all he got, and he agreed, and we signed him for free at the end of the day. So not bad at all. I thought we'd have to actually pay for him. I was looking at the scout report thinking, oh, 1.9 million to 2.9, I can do that, that's not too bad. And then it turns out, when I went over, thankfully I hovered over contract and actually said approach to sign. So I did approach to sign him. It's coming through in June, unfortunately not right away, even though we need him more now, but we just have to deal with, well, I have to deal with the mistake that I made. But yeah, it's good because we just signed a really good player for free, and it won't really affect our finances, and we can use that money, hopefully even the Champions League money as well, on really upgrading facilities. It's still in the planning phase, but yeah, we would expect it to be complete by by October basically. And yeah, I think that's all for today's episode. So we did mention that the next episode we'll be showing you will be the last game of the season. Hopefully it's a good, nice home win, send off our players, our fans rather, home happy just before the next season begins. Of course, just send them home after seeing everything that happened this season. Really, you can kind of see the inconsistencies. A bunch of greens and then it'll be a red, a bunch of greens and then it'll be a yellow, things like that. A bit of a poor form recently, but some of these of course are cup competitions where we start to get knocked out after meeting expectations, so can't be too upset about those either. In terms of my security, I'm very secure in my job. The board are very pleased with me, and if we do qualify for Champions League, I can't imagine them to be unhappy, so hopefully we can keep that up. Be interested to see what they would be setting me as expectations for the Premier League next year, because this year was just qualified for Euro Cup. In fact, the Europa League, the expectations there dropped from reach second knockout round to first knockout round. Taça de Portugal stayed the same, and so did the Portuguese League Cup. But yeah, all in all, not bad performances for my team all round. But yeah, hopefully we'll see more and better next year. That's the whole plan. I thought we'd be maybe challenging for the title this year, qualifying for the Champions League last year. Unfortunately missed out on by literally just a single point, and so that kind of put a hole in our plans. But if we do qualify for Champions League this year, and if we invest well in the summer, if we do have the money, of course, I don't think the money will come instantly, but if we do invest well during the summer period and make some really smart buys, then who knows, maybe we can actually seriously challenge for the title. Hopefully we can do that next year. It'd be interesting to see if we can finally break up the big three. We are kind of doing it this year if we do qualify for Champions League instead of Sporting. So I would say target kind of achieved, but it is a small target in comparison to how our big target is, of course, to win the Premier Liga and really dominate the league. We're going to try and win it back to back at least, if not 3 times in a row. That would show our dominance, and that would show that we actually did break up the big three. And of course, if we can somehow win the Champions League too, that would be huge. But the point is, this is of course a long-term save, so we need at least 5 seasons under our belt before we even consider quitting. So yeah, I think that'll be all for today's episode. So if you did enjoy it, then of course please do hit the like button and subscribe for more daily Football Manager 2017 content. And as always guys, thank you all very much for watching.